have to lose. So here's some answers. Some answers now. The President Trump's preliminary budget plan is out, so let's discuss now. Senior political commentators Shermichael Singleton, Bakari Sellers, Angela Rye, and Paris Denard. So good to have all of you on. So let's go through this. Paris, I'm going to start with you. President Trump said on the trail to African Americans, listen to this.
What do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose? We'll get rid of the crime. You'll be able to walk down the street without getting shot. Right now, you walk down the street, you get shot. What do you have to lose?
Oh, that did happen, didn't it? So, what do we have to lose? What do African Americans have to lose? The president proposed budget slashes funding. Let's see, for federal agencies that assist the poor, urban areas, including many African Americans. Department of Housing and Urban Development down 13.2%. Department of Education down 13.5%. Department of Health and Human Services down 16.2%. So it seems like some African Americans are losing a lot. Am I wrong, Paris?
Well, yes, Don, I think you are wrong, because if you look at the 13.5% cut that you mentioned for the Department of Education, what we do know in a time that a lot of cuts happen across the board, across the federal government, because the president said in campaign that he was going to do that. What we did not see were any cuts to HBCU. The $492 million to HBCUs were not cut. What we did not see were cuts to Pell. When you see over 90%
well, when people are kicked out of their houses, I guess they're going to go live in an historically black college or university.
But Don, he said that those were going to be priority. They were going to be top priority. He kept the same amount of money, Paris, I've heard you complain about from President Obama. That is why my mouth dropped open. You're right on the numbers. But I can't believe, I can't believe that you're now defending the same number. Please at least hold your guy accountable on this. You are my champion for HBCUs. Come on, Paris.
I am a champion. That's why I was so disturbed when President Obama cut millions out of HBCU funding from his first budget. And when you look at this president's budget, he did not make one cut to HBCU funding. He did not make one cut to Pell funding.
Okay,
and
so
actually,
Paris, what do you do with Pell? What do you do with Pell?
Angela in Paris. So a lot of people, HBCUs is important. But there are a lot of people who are sitting here watching tonight going, HBCUs, I got to eat. I've got to live somewhere. Great. Yes, I would love to send my kid to a college, any college, and hopefully maybe they want to send them to an HBCU. But why are you rambling on about HBCUs when we're talking about urban development, about other education, about health and human services?
Well, Don,
there are more important issues than HBCUs.
Don, I would caution you by saying to all those 300,000 students who attend HBCUs.
I didn't say it wasn't important. I said there are more important issues. I didn't say that don't put words in my mouth. Did you hear what I said? I said there are more important issues.
And when you put up a graphic that shows all these cuts.
Paris, look, my entire family went to HBCUs. Don't give me the lesson I know with HBCUs. Look at me. I know what they are. And I'm a product of an HBCU family.
Well,
but my
point
is there are more important things in HBCUs, and you keep pointing to one of them when I've gone down a list of things that are really important. And when I'm telling you I would rather eat than, or some people it's more, the priority for them is to eat rather than where they're going to go to college.
All I'm saying, Don, is that on the graphic that you put up, you showed that where there were cuts. And I was pointing out to your audience that there might have been a 13.5% cut to Department of Education, but within that cut, as it relates to African Americans, no cuts to HBCUs, no cuts to Pell. When you look at other department things, such as charter schools, there was an increase to charter school funding, which African Americans overwhelmingly support. When you look at things like building the wall and enforcement and things that are going to directly impact jobs, there are monies going into DHS, which are going to lead to more jobs, ICE officers and immigration officers, which African Americans can get those jobs.
Go ahead.
So you can make fun of HBCUs or belittle HBCUs.
Wait. Don't say I made fun of HBCUs. That's a flat-out lie. That's not what didn't make fun of HBCUs, and
You
know
said they weren't important.
That's a lie.
He didn't say
That's
they weren't
a lie.
important.
I
He
did
said
not
there
say
were
that. I
other
said
more
there were
important
more
things.
important things.
Debatable
I don't like to
point.
qualify things as more important. I think they're equally important.
It's
in getting
more
a
important
good
that you
sound
come here.
education.
I'll tell you what's more
You
important.
You have to have a good education.
It's more important
Don.
that you come
Let
here and tell the
somebody
truth,
else talk.
okay?
I'm
Now go
telling
ahead,
the truth.
and you
Did the
and that you're
president cut
respectful.
HBCU funding?
Sir Michael,
Did
go
the
ahead.
president cut
Sir Michael,
HBCU funding?
please.
No, he
Paris,
did
you're
not.
done.
It's
Go ahead, Sir
disingenuous,
Michael.
Paris.
Here we go again.
Go ahead, Sir Michael.
If I could interject, and okay, the president did not cut HBCUs. The funding remains the same as it did prior to the president being sworn in. Okay, that's fine. But I want to talk about some more critical issues such as housing. For example, 85% of HUD's budget, which oversees housing for a lot of poor people who happen to be African American, 85% is residual. So you decrease the budget by $6.3 billion, and you will see a net loss in people who rely on housing vouchers. For example, predominantly of them, again, are African Americans. And so when you look at programs such as that, where you're going to be potentially decreasing the number of housing vouchers that will assist people with moving out of public housing into a rental home where they're going to have a decreased rent because of the government's ability to assist them, I think is extremely troubling. Clearly, you want to get people out of a bad neighborhood to a more decent neighborhood to assist them with some point being able to move on to what we like to call a market rate apartment, meaning essentially they can pay at market rate with anyone else. That's problematic when the president says, I want to revitalize the inner cities, etc., when you're cutting programs that will hurt people who you claim to want to assist. I think it's extremely hypocritical to say that. Many African Americans are not concerned about a border wall. I hate to say that. Many are not, when there's a large number of African Americans who are living in communities where they're now going to have to worry if they are currently relying housing voucher. Is that voucher still going to be there?
Okay.
If you're a single mother and you rely on WIC, will that program still be there in the next
WIC
fiscal year?
is
by the
fully
way-
funded.
and
WIC
by the
is
way,
not cut. WIC was
Sir
not
Michael-
cut.
No, that's
WIC
not
was
true,
cut.
Paris.
WIC
It was
was
cut.
cut,
You should
Paris.
read the budget, Paris.
Yeah.
It was
I'm
cut.
trying to figure out what
Just
you're
in case,
looking at.
and
You
just in
talked
case
about
you're
the
wondering,
budget right
hold
here.
on. In just in case you're wondering, Sir Michael is a conservative, is a Republican, and he once worked in government. So, anyways, Bakari,
And Don-
how much will this budget? Paris, let other people speak. How much will this proposed budget
That
hurt
wasn't me.
African
That was
American
me, Don.
community?
That was me.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. I'm
Chastise
wrong.
the
Go ahead.
right person.
Go ahead, Bakari.
I think the way you judge a budget is by how they treat individuals who are at the dawn of their life, which are our children, how they treat people at the twilight of their life, which is our seniors, and how they treat people who are in the shadows, which are our disabled individuals. And so I think that this budget fails on all of those metrics, and specifically to African Americans. I mean, the irony that we're sitting here having to defend, and I heard it earlier on your show, Meals on Wheels, which directly affects many of those old ladies who sit at the front of the black churches and wear the big hats, who have to decide whether or not Monday through Saturday, whether or not they're going to get their prescription drugs or pay their utility bills. They depend on Meals on Wheels throughout the week. You're talking about after-school programs and school lunch programs that directly affect many poor African-American children. And to Paris's point about historically black colleges and universities, and I appreciated the dialogue because they need to be lifted up even more. But the fact that they weren't cut is not any type of success story, because we need an infusion of money into those programs, not some hold harmless stature. Look, the president said, what the hell do we have to lose? And as my grandmother said, you can't fall off the floor. Well, African Americans feel as if they're on the floor during this White House, and he didn't do anything to help lift us up in this budget.
And Angela, I'll give you the last word here. 8% of African Americans voted for this president, more than Mitt Romney. He vowed to help poor African American communities. How do you think those voters are feeling tonight?
Well, I think they're learning about the budget right now, and so it's incumbent upon us to tell the truth about what's in it. What's in it is a cut to the Small Business Administration after this administration, including Ben Carson today, tweeted that small businesses are the backbone of this country. This is a budget that cuts the Minority Business Development Agency. This is a budget that cuts the LIHEAP program to ensure that kids and mothers and families can stay warm during the winter. There is cuts to WIC, to SNAP program benefits. That is a fact. There are cuts to Department of Justice programs that we all know, love, and care about. There is an increase in funding and an earmark of $2.6 Just
Don.
really quick, $2.6 billion for a border wall. Guess who's paying for it? He lied. It's not Mexico. It's me and you, your mama and your cousin too. Period.
Don, if
All right.
Don, if
I
I could
gotta
say
go.
really-
I'm out of time, guys. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Thank
That's
you.
fine.
That's it for us. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.